In that Penn State game, you felt like you had to empty the bag of tricks a little bit for that Penn State defense. Was that about how good they were, or what could kind of went into those decisions?
Yeah, it was all by design. Some of them we've been working on for a while. Others we put in for that week. We were excited about the plays that we had in that, felt that had a chance to work versus particular coverages. Some of them did, some of them didn't.
What was the message to Max afterwards, where he throws his first interception and over 200 pass attempts, first turnover since September? What was the message?
Obviously he was upset. He was down after the game. The fumble, just inopportune, mistake. And then secondly, the interception was, I think a product of their defense is extremely good, and so like he stepped up in the pocket. The one thing we always talk about is your feet. His feet kind of sped up, his mind did, and he saw it right, just threw a bad ball. And, I don't think the message really changed. It's just right after the play, just calm down, make the throw next time. He did. But it was just making sure that he knew, like, just because he had a few bad plays within a game, the message I said to him doesn't make you a bad player. It's just you have, every once in a while you're going to have a bad play. When you play as many plays as he has, and then play as many elite plays that he's played, it's very uncommon, or it's very weird for you to see him have a bad play. I was excited the way he responded yesterday and today.
Can you walk us through the tackle throwback and calling it at that time and how it went on the headset?
So they're a big man coverage team down there in the green zone, and we had that play in for about 3 to 4 weeks. We'd been repping it. We had it repped against Rutgers, as well as a lot of teams play man coverage down there. They gave us the look. We actually had an alert on that play to get to a different type of play if we were going to get a simulated pressure or zone pressure. They did a good job disguising. They went to every single person on the headset was like, we got the look. They went to a simulated pressure. 11 dropped out, covered him. Great reaction by Max. I can't tell you how many times I've actually said that, probably 1 or 2 times when we repped that play leading up to Rutgers, because we were looking for a particular look. We got the look. They ended up doing something different. That was all it was. It was a good play by them. They made the plays.
What have you seen from Wisconsin on tape here in the last month?
It's going to be a battle. You put on the tape and, they play extremely hard. I think the one thing that they do a good job of getting in and out of fronts. I really like their linebackers. I really think the way that they play the game is really, really good. 24 is an exceptional safety. He was very good last year for him as well. They're going to fly around. They're going to be active. They're going to be really excited because it's their senior day, and we're excited for the challenge to go up against them. But they're going to present challenges for us up front from multiplicity in fronts. Going in and out of 4 down, 5 down fronts, the different types of pressures that they can bring. They can play man, they can bring simulated pressures, they can do a lot of different things. And they can get in and out of 4 down, 5 down fronts in their 5D lineman personnels, as well as get into their nickel personnel where they can be 4 down as well, and also get in and out of that front as well. So it's going to be a good challenge for us. We're going to have a good game plan.
With how relentlessly you game plan, obviously Max mentioned it last week on how much you prepare, just having less time, a shortened time to react to it. How does that change how you kind of schedule your time?
Yeah, it changes a little bit. I'm still going to put a lot on Max. Going into last week, we averaged about 20 to 30 kills and alerts in a game plan, more like 20, probably closer to 20. I don't know the exact number. Going into the Penn State game, we had 63. So he had 63 kills and alerts in that game plan. You saw a number of times throughout the game where he's changing the play at the line of scrimmage. So that was one of those things where we had that extra time. You saw how extensive the game plan was, and you saw how we executed at times. It was really good to see the guys be able to do that, be able to handle that much information. I think there were about 5 to 7 play calls that were triple plays in the huddle that he had 3 different options to get to. So that was one thing that was really exciting for us to be able to do at the quarterback position, and then the rest of the guys. But then going into this week, you have one less day. So as a coach, you can't put that much on the guys. You have to almost you're going to run your plays just like Wisconsin's going to do the same thing. They're in the same position we are. They're going to line up and play football. It's going to come down to who executes better, who executes their offense better. I'm excited about just the opportunity to see coming off that game on Saturday, the result we got, how we got it, and then being able to respond in a short amount of time and go play against a really good football team.
Are there other factors besides the bye week that go into putting that much on Max?
No, they were just really that good. So you look at that defense, and you don't want to have wasted plays. I think in the first half, I looked at the number yesterday. I think we had 18 offensive plays, and we had 17 offensive points. So we had limited amount of plays. So I knew going into the game that was going to be one of the things, how Penn State played offensive football. They can create explosive plays, but they're not. They weren't really looking at. They weren't really that type of offense. They're going to be a ball control offense. So I knew the plays were going to be limited, and I knew the plays had to matter. So we had to get the runs into the premier looks. We had to get the passes into the premier looks. We had to know, okay, zone pressure was coming in this instance. We had to get into the premier look there. That's how every game plan is based with us as we go through the week. We're sitting up there right now going through, okay, here's the premier look we want for Wisconsin. Here's the look that we don't want. And so getting in and out of those particular things is really critical. But I don't necessarily think it's the bye week. I think it's just how much you put on Max is going to determine how much time you have. It's been the same, each week. It was just going into that Maryland week was the same thing. I put a lot on him. Put a lot on him in Penn State. He's going to have a lot on him this week. It's just a little bit less probably.
Is that 63 the most you've ever added?
Yeah, by far. Not even close. I think going in against North Carolina, we had in between 30 and 35 just because we didn't know exactly what we were going to get. And then going up against that, that's a testament to him. I mean, how he manages it. It was all downs too. Every situation in the game. First and second down, transition into third down, getting different things, getting different looks, and then obviously going into the green zone. He had on the tackle throwback, he had an alert on it. He made the right decision, pre-snap and post-snap.
When you look at the next upcoming weeks, you've got your final regular season game on Friday. You've got National Signing Day next week. Portal opens, portal closes, a bowl game. How difficult is it as a coordinator to go from, okay, on Friday, it's our last regular season game, into high school recruiting, into transfer recruiting, to roster management? Is this one of the most difficult stretches, next 4 or 5 weeks coming up for someone like you?
Because just you want to get all those guys to signing day. You want to make sure that they get into our program, when that happens. That's one thing that I think we do a really good job of during the season, of every single week, people getting me on the phone with certain recruits, our offensive staff talking to every recruit, our offensive staff getting Coach Fleck, on the phone with those guys too as well. I think we do a really good job getting them to campus. So I think that helps a lot. But I think when you transition from the last game to recruiting, that's just normal. I don't really look at it as a challenge. I just think that recruiting never stops, and we have to continue to do that at a high level. And then obviously when the portal comes open, that's when it really becomes, interesting, because everything, you look at your roster and you look at, okay, what needs do you have and how do you attack that and go from there. But I don't look at it as, a challenge. I just look at it as part of the job and part of the thing I enjoy.
What traits in Drake have you seen that Max has instilled?
It's interesting because, Coach Fleck mentioned this to the team, about passing down things within the rooms. You look at Quinn Carroll, Nick Callerup, those guys within those position groups, passing down, a mindset or a work ethic or anything like that within the position group. The characteristics I've seen the most out of Drake is how much he's been around Max. I think when, you look at the opportunity that these guys in the room, whether it's Drake Lindsay, Dylan Wicke, Max Shukanjansky, you look at those guys and you see how they gravitate towards Max Brosmer. And I think when the new quarterback steps under center, it's going to be interesting to see how much of an impact Max has had. on how they prepare, how they practice, how they work. That's what I'm excited about just in general with all the guys. Drake specifically, it's just his work ethic and how he's changed from January to now with his mind, with how he's worked, and then even as we go throughout the whole process of changing his body. He's growing up. He's maturing. He hasn't taken the year off. I think that's really, really a hard challenge for a young player. It's one thing if you have a backup quarterback that's a redshirt sophomore, redshirt junior, that's been in the program for a while. You have a true freshman and Dylan Wicke that both of them are those guys that are in 1 year in the program, and they can't take the year off. That's what I've been most impressed with Drake is just he's just worked really hard to when he can, he leads. He's also worked hard in knowing that, okay, he's one play away from playing, and he has to prepare as if he's the starter every single day, and he's learned a lot from Max with that.
How nice is it to have a wide receiver like Elijah Spencer that can make the physical contested catches over the middle?
He's improved a ton. You look at last year, and I think I said it a few weeks back how he quadrupled or tripled his catches at one point during the year, and he's really impressed me. The cool moment in the game was, I went tempo right there before we got down, I think, 1st and goal on the 8, and he made the play, had a great release. Max felt the grass over there with the safety kind of pushing to the field through the bang, and it was a great pitch and catch, and it was cool to see Elijah make those contested catches, make those big-time catches, because just like I've said to him before, this time last year he didn't make those. And I highlighted him a while ago to the entire unit that just because you're not getting the production that you want right now doesn't mean that's going to be how your story ends. And he's written his story in the way that he wants it to. He's worked his butt off, and I've said it in here before. Just in January, he became Max's best friend, and just how much time he spent with him, and it's showing up right now. It doesn't just happen overnight. You got to continue to work. You got to continue to get better. Focus on the mental side of the game and prepare your body for it. It's been cool to see someone like him do it.
What have you seen in the bond between Max and the offensive linemen? Obviously, they go out to dinner on Thursdays, but how have you seen them kind of bond?
They're just fun. They're just fun to be around. It's. I think a relationship between the quarterback and the rest of the position groups, they're all different. And it's cool to see those guys get together, and I love the fact that they can challenge each other. Their body language never varies. It's cool to see when Max gets hit, he doesn't get frustrated by it. Those guys are always there to pick him up, and he's always the one too where if something does go wrong or something does go bad, Max is really positive with him. He knows the right way to get on him without being demeaning, and I think that's a really huge characteristic as a leader. But the relationship with him is critical, just continuing to push those guys, and he understands that those guys don't get a lot of the credit. It's easy to place blame on those guys when things go wrong. They don't get a lot of credit when things go well, where Max gets it all. When things go well, and he's very much, hey, the offensive line did a great job today. He continues to encourage them, and I think it's been really, really cool to see because I haven't seen a relationship between a quarterback and each position group the way that we have had this year, and that's leadership, and that's a testament to Max.
The Minnesota-Wisconsin game is historically won and lost up front, so what's the message this week to the offensive line that's been largely inconsistent all season long?
Like I just said, I'm not going to, place any blame on any particular position group. My position group has to play better every single week for us to be able to win, just like the offensive line does. And I think it's just going to come down to the same thing of their preparation in a short week. Greg's going to have to trust what he sees at the line of scrimmage with identifying the runs and play fast. Go from there. And you look at those guys up front between Quinn and Coop and Tay. Those guys are going to get a chance to play in their final game against Wisconsin. And you want to leave everything out there for that. But they're going to be ready to go. I'm excited about the opportunity for them. You know, one thing, the weather, it's an offensive lineman's dream to play in this kind of weather this weekend. You know, it's going to be cold. It's going to be a great opportunity for them to establish the run, and it's going to be one up front. You know, they're saying the same thing at Wisconsin with their defensive line. It's going to be one up front. We got to do a better job than they are. Thanks, guys.
Fleck back on the final drive for Penn State. Was it Aller's legs kind of extending plays to make it 3rd and 4th and short that stand out, or what kind of stands out to you about that final
I think the biggest play of the game is, we got him, I think it was 3rd and 9. We kind of trap him in a coverage, and he pulls the ball down. He looks to scramble, and we get a flyby, and it allows him to get out of the pocket. And then we have a shot to get him down, make it 4th down and 5, and we don't press the hip. We take a poor angle, and then he falls forward, and we got to knock that thing back when we tackle it at, make it 4th and 3, 4th and 4. He falls forward, and I think that's, there's a couple plays in that game, but that's one of the biggest plays of the game to get it to a 4th and 2, and allow them to go for that, to fake that punt. If you get them to 4th and 5 plus or 4th and 8, I think they punt the football.
What are the biggest changes in your mind that they did with Tyler Warren in the second half versus the first half, where you really kind of took him out of the game plan?
I think maybe they leaned on him a little bit more. I thought, I think that kid makes plays. I mean, there's times, in that T2 going down halftime, we got Cody all over him. That throw, that catch, that's a big-time football play. And, that's why he is who he is. That's, I wouldn't want to put anyone else in that situation. And, we put different guys on him at different times. And, I thought Cody had great coverage on him, and the kid steps up and makes a huge play. Later in the game, we put Coy on him in the green zone, and Coy, step for step, makes a really good play on him. The ball wasn't quite, where it was in that first time. But, I thought our guys challenged him. I thought our guys did a really good job. There was a couple times on those middle screens I thought we should have done a better job taking on the blocks. I thought one time we had it viced up and we went around a block instead of vicing it and doing a better job of knocking that thing back at the point of attack. But that kid gets so many touches and the offense goes through him so much. At some point he's gonna make a play. And I thought our guys did a really good job most of the night. And we just got to make 1 or 2 more plays there.
What stood out about that Coy pass defense against Warren in the corner of the end zone?
Yeah, so I mean, it's 3rd down. We got to hold them to a field goal in that situation, and we changed it up. We went, we were trying to get a bracket on him. We did that multiple times. We were trying to get 2 for 1, and he runs an outside release, and it's 1-on-1. It's 1-on-1. Obviously, it's the green zone, so he's got the back of the end zone. He knows he's got a little bit of vertical help with that, and there's only so much of a window you can put it in. But that's a huge play to step up in that situation against. I think that kid will, wherever he'll go, top 25 picks, top 20 picks. That's one of the best players we've seen all year.
Wisconsin fired their offensive coordinator before that Nebraska game. What are the biggest differences you kind of saw between the old Wisconsin offense and what you saw on Saturday?
I still think there's a lot of similarities. The run game, they haven't seen a ton of changes that stand out. I think, they're still going to run their gap scheme. They're a counter power team. I think they do a really good job of the stretch play. Whether they're stretch, bringing the tight end back, trying to fold it back through. I think the run game's very similar. The pass game, I did feel like maybe there was a little bit more RPOs. Quarterback did a really good job getting the ball out, distributing it. Obviously the wide receiver makes 3 big plays. I think it's hard to probably go that far off track at this point in the year with what they've been doing. But, I thought there was a couple different subtle changes in there, and, we'll continue to game plan that, continue to look at that, and as we go through, get a feel for exactly how they're going to call it and what they'll tweak this week for us.
Obviously, you still do all of the game plan and prep, but before the game, but then the adjustments. Obviously, he might make different adjustments than the other one. So, is that kind of on your mind as well, of maybe the adjustments that are going to have to be made maybe early on in the game? Yeah,
well, I mean, that's always what we're. We've had games where we talked about it 2 weeks ago with Rutgers, where we came out and we had to change what we were doing early in the game. There's been other weeks we've felt good about where we are early on in the game, and then later, maybe halftime or after halftime or certain points of the games we'll give a different look or a different presentation, or we'll try to attack, the offense a little bit differently. But every week we'll have a plan, and then we got to always make sure, however they change it or however they, how are they attacking us? Where are they running the football? Who are they trying to work the football toward? Where are they trying to push the ball out in the perimeter? We always have to have a plan to make sure we can take everything away. And, we always have those options built in as we game plan. We just got to figure out when we use those plans.
Rutgers used the RPO in the first half of that game. Just how have you kind of coached your team off the, obviously coaching points from that game? Obviously now you mentioned Wisconsin does it more as well.
Yeah, I think it's something we've seen, especially with North Carolina early in the year, and then, seeing different, like Illinois, they threw a fade, they threw a couple RPOs against us. Rutgers, early in the game attacked us that way. It's something that we always have built in, just, with the landscape of college football and who we play and, the quarterbacks that we've seen in the Big Ten this year and even some of the out-of-conference opponents that we saw this year with Nevada, and the way they get the ball out in the perimeter, it's something that we always have an answer. We always have something built in to try to make sure we have the extra hat.
In the 6 wins this season, I think you guys have 17 takeaways, and then the 5 losses, just 3. I mean, how do you kind of view something like that, especially on Saturday where you're -2 in the take give?
Yeah, I mean, we got the one opportunity. I thought Maverick got his hands on the ball. We had a shot right there to get the football out. There was a couple other times, I think our guys are going for it. You see the punches on film. You see guys trying to rake the ball out and trying to get the football. I just think there's some weeks, the ball bounces the right way. We have an opportunity. We make the play. And, the last 2 games, we've had a couple opportunities, and we just haven't come down with it. And, there's been a couple tips. There's been a couple overthrows. There's been a couple times the second man's gone after the football. And, after the first guy kind of stands them up. And, I think our guys are going after the football. We're constantly attacking it. I think we're obsessed with the ball. We got to get, we got to create more takeaways. We got to take advantage of the opportunities we have to get those takeaways and change the game.
PJ mentioned that you guys have started to have some of the conversations with your current players about retention for next year and things like that. Is that kind of the biggest change you've seen over these last couple of years with NIL and everything is, okay, now I got to start to negotiate with them? Are you coming back? Are you not? Especially with the portal opening here in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm worried about Wisconsin. I think, the player relationship, I think that's always, like one of the biggest things. And I think that's, I think we have guys on our staff that do a great job of, building that trust with our players, coaching our guys up. We coach them hard and, getting the respect 2 ways, both from the players and from us. And I think that's something, the way we coach our guys, I think that'll take care of, and that handles a lot of the relationships that we have with our guys. And, defensive side of the football, right now we're coaching our guys hard. We're continuing to get better. The number one goal in the season is when you go into spring football, you want to come out of spring football better. The way that we took the field preseason camp, you want to leave camp better than you were there in every aspect. How fast we play, the way that we strike, the way we take on blocks, the way that we tackle. And then the same thing from North Carolina to, whatever the end game is. This week it's Wisconsin. When we get done with the Wisconsin game, we want to be better in that aspect. That's how we're going to coach our guys. And, after that, we'll figure out what goes on from there. But that's the biggest thing we're worried about right now.
Anthony's played some of his best football here in November. What do you think has clicked for him in the last month or so?
I think he's played more football. I think the more football you play, the better you get at football. And I think just the way he attacks it, the way he practices, I think Coach Debo does a great job, with the progression of practice right now. How, he coaches the get off, how he coaches the ground the pads, how he's working the fundamentals and the technique, and then how we drill it, and then how we put it in the group segments, and then as he goes through and he plays more football, playing with those skills and those fundamentals, I think he's continuing to be a better football player. He's playing faster. He's having better understanding and awareness of what's going on around him, better understanding of scheme, what he's seeing with a man-on block or a man-away block, or how he can attack people when he gets high hat. And, I just think he's playing faster, and it's the game is slowing down a little bit for him, and we're playing him at multiple positions. And a lot of times that helps you understand, sometimes I'm playing 3 technique, sometimes I'm playing 5 technique. He's even played inside as like a 2-eye or shade at times. And I think that gives him the awareness of, okay, this is what that guy's doing. Now I can do this, or I have a little bit more freedom here. Right now I really got to do my job on this. And I think that's allowed him to play a lot faster.
We've seen Saquon be a rotational piece. What have you seen in him that shows that he could maybe take on a much bigger role with guys leaving?
Yeah, he's a guy, I always like to watch guys on special teams. If a guy's not, in the starter right now, or a guy's not the guy right now, I always like to see, how do you play on special teams? And he's a guy I always feel like plays really well. He competes. He does his job really well. He plays fast. He always takes on the challenge, and it's the same way on defense. Whether, E-Rob has a playoff, or Wally, or we're in a package and we're moving Wally to nickel, or whatever it is. And that's where, I'm always trying to watch in those, whether it's on film or seeing how guys compete in those periods, even if it's just like special teams Indy, because that's where I get a good feel. Okay, this guy does a really good job in a role there. Let's get him in a role on defense. I know he can contribute. I know he can make a play. Let's start to get him on the defensive side of the ball a little bit, and that's where you see a lot of times we'll move Wally to nickel, because I know he's going to go out, he's going to make plays, he's going to compete. He's done a really good job all year for us on defense, and whether it's first and second down, it's third down, it's a sub package, whatever it is, I think he constantly steps up and makes plays, and obviously he's young, he's going to continue to learn and get better. Same thing with Anthony and everyone. I take our best players, where they've gone from game one to game now, to some of our younger guys who maybe didn't have much of a role and have shown up more and more every week. Like even Coy, you watch where he was in that first game and what he's done all season. I think that's one thing. Like our coaches do a really good job of developing those guys and building them and making sure, just always having our guys, the way that we practice. You might not play one snap, you might play the entire game. Like you never know what's going to happen on play one. You never know what's going to happen on play three, and just making sure our guys are ready for that moment, and having them compete in practice. And he's a guy that does a really good job with that.
Harbaugh talked about passing stuff down in rooms. Is that something that you've seen with the cornerbacks? Obviously, Henderson and Robinson making that play on special teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's part of the culture here. You look at the guys that have played here. The guys that have gone off and been very successful post, being a Gopher. And I think that's something that you see it when you walk in the meeting rooms. You see it when you walk in the building. And, I think that's something that every room, they take pride in that. And I think guys, the alums have done an unbelievable job in passing on down to their guys. And, I think the guys in our room, like you can see older guys constantly talking to the younger football players or helping guys out. And like that safety room, I love what goes on there. Like one guy goes out, all of a sudden it's a rotation, whether it's Kerry or it's Coy or it's Aiden or it's Coleman. Next man up, and they're coaching each other up on the sideline. Hey, when I was out there, this is what I saw. This is what, it's the same thing in the linebacker room. We have a little bit of a rotation at defensive end, defensive tackle. You can hear the guys in the V or on the bench constantly saying, hey, this is what we're going to get here, or this is what happened. And I think that's awesome about our team. Like they love playing for one another. And I think that's a big thing of what, is constantly getting our team better.
In your first year here, what's it like coaching under PJ and inheriting the rest of the defensive staff, and how you guys might have worked together this first season?
It's been awesome. I think we have a great room. I think we have a great staff. And it's everything. It's from the community. It's from where we are here in Minneapolis. But I think, what we have in this program, it's special. It's the defense. I didn't know really any of the guys when I got here. You kind of walk in, it's like, all right. And it's been awesome. Like the guys on defense, just hearing input, taking different things we've done here in the past, maybe doing different things that I've done in the past, trying to make things even better that we've all collectively done or learned from going out and watching different film. And it's guys that love football. And, on our staff, I feel like it's guys that love, coaching, like building guys up, developing players, taking guys from, where they start to where they want to go. And that's what's most important to me. It's guys that are constantly worried about our guys being better in everything and in all aspects of life. And that's what Coach Fleck has, as a program. It's, how do we develop people? How do we get them, from where they start to where they want to go? And I think we have a great room of coaches all the way around. The assistants, the people around the program, in the strength room, the nutrition room, like every aspect of the program. The academic assistants constantly building our guys up. And I think that's, just so important for the family that we have here. And I think that's what, really benefits this program.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you, guys.